Women wearing pants. Outcry. From today's perspective, we can't even imagine that something simple like a woman walking down the street wearing pants would create an outcry, but this was pretty much the case in the 1940s. Let me take you back in time and show you how a special type of pants, the so-called Capri pants, have empowered women. They were actually not even invented in Capri, and I'm also going to introduce you to the trailblazing woman who invented them. Just a brief side note here, this is a non-sponsored video and I'm just sharing my personal opinion and my research here. Let's travel back to the 1940s and let's create the context for this video. First of all, we need to know that there were women wearing pants, but they were rarely seen. We had designers such as Gabrielle Chanel who tried to promote this menswear garment for women, and also during the war a lot of things actually changed. A lot of women wanted more practical clothing. But even though we had those developments after the war, we had kind of a redevelopment or back development, because there was Christian Dior who launched his new look in 1947, which was this very feminine look, very often requiring corsets. So gone were the dreams of wearing pants. Women were wearing these A-shaped skirts again. So we have this ultra feminine trend, but at the same time something else is brewing, and it's going to be something major. It starts in 1945 with the cropped style Capri pants. These were pants that actually stopped mid-calf roughly, and slowly they became more and more popular and eventually would actually replace these A-shaped skirts, these ultra feminine skirts promoted by the new look. And everything began in Germany, of all places. Maybe you are as surprised as myself. When I did the research for this video about the history of the Capri pants, I actually thought they probably come from Italy. Maybe a designer was inspired by a traditional garment from the island of Capri, but no, that's not the case. It actually all started in Germany, and the inventor was a young woman called Sonja de Lennart. She was born in 1920. Today she's 104 years old, and she was born in Breslau, which was then Prussia. And Sonja de Lennart very much admired the style of women like Marlene Dietrich, who wore pants in a wider cut. But she had a little problem. Sonja de Lennart is a very petite woman. She is only 1 meter 52 centimeters tall, which is 5 foot 1 inch. So she's similar to Lady Gaga or Elizabeth Taylor, for example, and this whole style of Marlene Dietrich does not really fit petite women. You have to be very, very tall for this style. So she started to experiment with a different style of pants, which would be also fitting not only for petite women but for everyone and look very flattering. De Lennart's father was a businessman, and when he heard that she wanted to study fashion, he was not really pleased, but despite all the reservations coming from her family, she knew what she wanted to do and she decided to study fashion. But then everything happened differently. It was the war, and also towards the end of the war in 1944-45 the family had to flee the Russians, and the story is actually quite adventurous or even dangerous, because it is said that Sonja de Lennart was pregnant with her child and she was holding her other daughter in the arm while she jumped out of a first floor window to save herself. She survived that. Later on, the building that they were in was bombed and they were buried under the ruins, but they survived again, and she managed to escape to Munich on a cattle cart. They had lost all their belongings, but they were still alive. And Sonja de Lennart was very determined to basically rebuild the family fortune. They had lost everything during those times, and de Lennart was very determined to rebuild the family fortune by creating fashion. So coming back to her passion that she has had for a very long time. So she started to work on her first collection, and she used materials, any material that she could get her hands on. It was difficult times during the war. And she used bedspreads, curtains, parachute silk, and then she created a collection of different garments involving skirts, jackets, even an imitation leather coat, and also the pants that I mentioned before, those pants that she had been experimenting with before she had to leave Prussia, the pants that soon would become the Capri pants. This collection was launched in 1945, and there are stories about her beginnings, that she was creating this collection basically by sitting on the floor And one of the few joys that they had during these tough times were the care packages sent by their family from America that basically also helped her get through these times. And another thing or place that she thought a lot about was the island of Capri. This used to be the destination where her family used to spend their holidays before they lost their fortune, and for her Capri stood for freedom, for joy. And she was probably not the only one. For many people in Germany, probably Italy or the island of Capri were a place of longing where you could be free. This was long before it was put on the global map for the jet set, but there was still this close link. And according to Sonja de Lennart, not only the island of Capri itself, but also the fishermen there were a big source of inspiration for her collection and for the Capri pants. And in general, we could say that these fishermen of Capri gained international fame or fame outside of Italy because of a famous song. In 1943, Ralph Siegel wrote the German song Capri Fischer, Fishermen of Capri, and it was actually forbidden until 1945. If you want to know the reason, you can head over to my website. I'm not going to discuss this on YouTube. And in 1948 it became extremely popular, and it is a very famous song until today, and it is kind of romanticizing Capri and Italy and the lifestyle. It is about peace and freedom, and this is also exactly what Sonja de Lennart was thinking about when she launched these pants or when she created them. And in general, also due to that song, after the war, during the German Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle, a lot of Germans actually went to Capri to spend their holidays. De Lennart's first version of the Capri pants was actually a winter style, and then she kind of changed them a bit when she went to Capri herself after the war, and she waded through the water, and then she realized she had to crop them again. So you have to imagine, we are talking about a time where it was not normal at all for women to wear pants. And then she cut those pants off mid-calf. So you have to imagine that. Quelle horreur. How can you do this? This is just something that was not expected at all. And then she also added a practical detail, her famous Schlitzchen. It's a small slit to make it a bit easier to get in and out of the pants. But this slit was small, but also kind of a detail that was also very daring at the time. We see how times have changed, that a very small slit on the mid-calf created a big outcry, but this was the time. And actually de Lennart became very famous for this little slit, this Schlitzchen, and she also added that to other garments later on, for example to blouses. It kind of became her trademark. And she also changed some other details. For example, she moved the waistline up to achieve a narrower waist. And the other thing that she changed, it's a very small change with a big effect, is she tightened the pants. And why is this such a big effect? Again, it's the context of the times. I said before, women rarely wore pants, and those who did opted very often for the wider leg style. With this was more fitted to the body. You could see the physique of a woman, so it was more feminine. So again, another reason for a big outcry. And when talking about the context, we also need to understand something. I mentioned women like Marlene Dietrich before. Those women were considered femme fatale. They were famous. They kind of could wear those risky clothes. They somehow got away with it, even though they were in the news. Remember, even in the 1970s, when Katharine Hepburn went to the Oscar ceremony in pants, it was still all over the news. But still, there were kind of different rules for celebrities and ordinary women. For ordinary women, wearing pants was actually not that easy. For example, in a lot of European countries, when a man walked next to a woman wearing pants, he could actually be fined or even jailed for it. Also, in Catholic schools, girls were not allowed to wear pants. And then also in the UK, for example, in the restaurants or even in department stores, women were not allowed to enter in pants. Harrods had a sign that women could not enter if they wore pants. This is something that we can't even imagine, and things were not different in Germany, where Sonja de Lennart was based. For example, later on in the 1950s, during the Wirtschaftswunder, which I mentioned before, women were not supposed to wear pants. They were supposed to look gepflegt, which means neat, and this meant wearing a skirt or a dress. Definitely not pants. Those who dared wearing pants were called Hosenweiber, which is a very negative word for women wearing pants. And also, for example, actress Senta Berger tried to access a hotel and she was denied access because she was wearing pants. And this went on actually for a very long time until the 1970s. And even in 1970, when Lene Lotte von Bottmer talked in front of the German parliament wearing pants, it was way more than just making news. She was heavily criticized for wearing pants as a woman. So you can imagine Sonja de Lennart inventing the capri pants in the mid-1940s and how long it actually took for this whole development until it was accepted that we as women can wear pants. And coming back to this thinking about freedom, as I said before, for Sonja de Lennart, capri stood for freedom, and it basically symbolized the freedom for women to not only wear what men wear, but also enter their world, do the same job. Sonja de Lennart, from what I read for the research of this video and my article, she seems to be a very strong and empowered woman, and she really wanted to push women to their full potential. According to her, skirts or dresses, they don't let women show their or live their full potential. She wanted to help them by creating the capri pants. So how did this garment leave Germany and become a global phenomenon? It was a very important move to the American market, and de Lennart's family connections helped a bit with that, because she had a cousin called Arno Bennett in LA. He was a movie producer and he knew Gregory Peck, and then slowly celebrities started buying from Sonja de Lennart, for example Ingrid Bergman, but also in the German-speaking countries, for example Ernie Mangold. But the real breakthrough came when Edith Head chose the capri pants for Roman Holiday, the movie in 1953. And this movie not only put the capri pants on the global map, it also made Audrey Hepburn famous. And this just became a very iconic style. This style, this Audrey Hepburn style, was further cemented in the movie Sabrina from 1954. It was this typical styling that we now know when we think about Audrey Hepburn. It was the capri pants paired with ballerina flats. Another scandal, they didn't opt for high heels, which was common at the time. But for this movie, Edith had collaborated with the French designer Hubert de Givenchy, who then kind of became synonymous with Audrey Hepburn's style. And this may be one of the reasons why many people actually think that the capri pants were invented by Hubert de Givenchy and not by Sonja de Lennart. And soon further celebrities followed that trend. There are these very famous pictures of Marilyn Monroe with the black jumper and the white capri pants. There was also Ava Gardner, Elizabeth Taylor, Brigitte Bardot. And we could even say this reflects what was going on in society overall. We could even say it reflects a revolution, because from the 1950s onwards, women became more and more independent. They entered the workforce. They needed more practical clothing to reflect their needs. They didn't want to wear impractical clothes where they were dependent on men. One of the most famous stories, probably the famous Chanel bag, that was also invented or reinvented and designed at the time because Coco Chanel wanted to give women more freedom of movement, hence the shoulder straps of the bag. The capri pants stood for the same thing. Wearing pants in general, and then the more daring capri pants, also showed kind of your political convictions that you were an empowered woman at the time. And another major boost for the capri pants was on TV when Mary Tyler Moore played Laura Petrie and she wore capri pants. And later in interviews she actually said that she had to do a lot of convincing with the TV channel, with the broadcasting company, and said, oh, it's a one-time appearance of the pants, and then slowly the pants became more and more and more. And she said she wanted to do that to show that women don't dress up in full skirts or dresses or ensembles to do the laundry at home or to clean up the home. They wear or they need more practical clothing. Looking at it from today, we might find it even ridiculous that she had to do that, but this was actually the times. She had to convince people, especially probably men at these broadcasting companies, that women don't wear impractical clothing to do their jobs. And at the same time, in the 1960s, Italy had already established itself as a major tourist destination. due to movies like Roman Holiday, for example. I also mentioned this in my other video about the history of Fashion Week. And by then also the island of Capri had become a favorite destination of the jet set, and probably one of the biggest celebrities at the time who used to come to Capri was Jackie Kennedy Onassis. So despite holidaying in Greece, of course, because of her second husband, she also loved coming to Capri. And what was she wearing? The Capri pants, and then with her signature style, the big oversized sunglasses and the silk headscarves. And Sonja de Lennart's Capri pants actually never disappeared from fashion. There were a lot of reiterations, reinterpretations. I even remember in the late 1990s and early 2000s, I basically lived in Capri pants. I had one pair which was bright red. I loved them. They were so comfortable. I wore them for school, for going out. I paired them with my white Adidas Superstars. Yes, we all had these fashion faux pas with the white sneakers that are also reappearing again. And even today, there is kind of a revival of the famous Capri pants. And even though Sonja de Lennart is very often in the shadow of bigger names, very often male names in fashion, when it comes to her invention, the Capri pants, we cannot forget her contribution as a trailblazing woman to female empowerment. And I actually have a quote for you from Icon magazine. The French magazine wrote, "The exact definition of existentialism is as follows. Man is free and responsible for his actions, a doctrine that corresponds with designer Sonja de Lennart, born May 21st, 1920 in Prussia. This great woman, too little known today, decided to venture into fashion in a post-war world that left room for hope, audacity, and creation. The name Sonja gave to this broader ready-to-wear collection was an homage to the famous Italian island of Capri. She designed dresses and coats, but the greatest success of all would be a pair of pants. These famous pants stop mid-calf, a perfect compromise between pants, too classic, and Bermuda shorts, unflattering, unglamorous, and outdated, and had their golden age in the 1960s. A true pioneer of her times, Sonja has been inspiring the greatest fashion houses for decades." And I would like to end this video by encouraging you to be a bit more mindful next time when you put on your pants. It's probably sooner than later, and think about what women had to go through, how hard they had to fight to gain the right to wear pants, so that we can just open our wardrobes in the morning, take out pants and wear them without even questioning them. And maybe you also want to revisit the Capri pants invented by the trailblazing Sonja de Lennart. And now I really want to hear your opinion. Do you like Capri pants? Do you own some? Or is it not your style? What do you think about this? Did you know about this backstory, and did you know about Sonja de Lennart? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and if you learned something new today, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a like and if you could subscribe to my channel. It really helps me to produce this weekly content for you. If you're interested in more fashion-related articles, you can also head over to thepinklookbook.com, and you can also check out my fashion label Pelagona. And in this video, I also talked about the 1960s style and also fashion icons like Jackie Kennedy Onassis, and a lot of them love to wear silk scarves, and I have a very special video about one particular scarf and one particular scarf designed by Gucci. It's their Flora scarf design and how it is linked to art history. So maybe you want to check that video out. Thank you very much for watching this video, and see you in the next one.